The introverted side of us is what makes the better salesperson. There's research done, a telecommunications company that was selling software, and the extroverts were selling about $128 as an average sale. The introverts were about $124, but the ambiverts in the middle were selling over $150.
Can you be an extrovert but still act as an introvert in sales?
Well, funnily enough, even though I work with introverted or non-sales people, because extroverts and high performers actually need process, what they've forgotten is to do the basics.
Bill James, an accomplished sales strategist, built a transformative career in New Zealand. Overcoming dyslexia, he's now a leading authority on sales, championing the idea that consistent effort, just 3 prospecting actions a day, can lead to success.
So when someone goes, look, I'm sorry, Mina, I don't want one, most people go, oh, okay then, and they leave. What if you were to turn around and go, well, hold on a moment, before I go, what I have actually really does fit your problem. Are you sure you won't consider it? Call the rule of 2 no's. You don't ever walk away from someone who might want what you've got until you tried at least twice to interest them in it.
How do I leverage our relationship so that I can get across who you know and across who I know as well?
So from the referral side of things, the biggest mistakes people make, first one is
phone calling. There seems to be a bit of an aversion to being on the phone and ringing people.
You've got 2 parts to that. One,
if somebody doesn't respond, what do you do?
it's an interesting one. So when you're following up, again, the first thing is...
Quick one, Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. A lot of people who come and watch this podcast or listen to the podcast are not subscribers. And so we're trying to increase our subscriber base. We are wanting to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode. Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
For people who don't know you, can you give us a quick snapshot of your upbringing and how you ended up in New Zealand?
Okay. Born in South Africa, raised in England. Funny, I came out 1971, and I came out with this very posh English accent, right in the middle of a time when the English weren't welcome. So that was a growing curve. Got a lot of bullying at that stage, but learned from that. Even in those days, I was solving problems and always seeing things differently, which has a lot to do with the fact we discovered I was reasonably bright. I got a nice IQ, but also chronically dyslexic. But that's what I've actually turned into my business. So got all the way through and a bunch of different things from awards and stuff. Got my degree, went into sales. My degree was quite ordinary. And when I had a look at, well, how could I make it less ordinary? I found that sales had no degrees in it. So I did the one logical thing that I could think of when everybody else was zigging and zagging. I went and found a sales job and they went, gosh, you've got a degree. And that actually probably more than anything resulted in me being a national sales manager when I was still like 24 years old. So, yeah, it was an interesting upbringing, lots of highlights, but that's how I then transitioned straight through to sales.
You've worked in so many different organizations and companies. It's quite impressive.
Well, a lot of that has to do with having 5 redundancies in 6 years. So 1980s wasn't kind to me. I think I ended up with 9 different jobs in a very short period of time. And I don't know that I'd recommend it to other people, but it's what makes you up. What the experience I have, and it's wide, is because of the experience I have, which is wide. So, what I can bring to the table is always a part of all that.
Let's talk about sales, because that's what you're here for. And I wanted to get to know from you like the best of the best techniques about how you can make a sale. And this is going to be suitable for people in business, people, entrepreneurs, startup companies, even people who don't have any company. They will still be able to learn a lot of techniques from the sales techniques that you're going to be able to share with us. We all know now that it's a tough time right now, right? So everyone talking about recession, difficulty, slow business. When you hear too much of it is so hard out there, what comes to mind, and what do you immediately start to tell that person, actually, here's what you could do?
Yeah, we are here to talk about sales, and before we get going, realize sales, everyone is in it. So you could be a mother trying to sell a concept of your child needing to tidy their bedroom. It could be you trying to sell a concept, hey, come on a podcast. It could be someone in the office trying to sell a concept, we should have a social club. So half the sales are around money, but half the sales are around non-money. No, it's about life. And we're all in it. So I'll often say from stage, hands up if you're in a long-term relationship, and people put their hands up and I go, well, that's a sale you made. I mean, that is in fact a sale you made, right?
Yeah.
And if you've been in a really long relationship, you've become an expert at customer service. All right? And I had one chap in the audience who said, my dad's been married 5 times and we call that impulse buying. But it does happen. But when people say, I'm so good when I'm in front of somebody, if I could just get in front of somebody, or they really like it, but they said come back in 6 months.
Yeah,
I know that they are basically chickening out. And I'm sorry, but that really is it. Okay, there are circumstances people cannot buy, but I have long felt the Jack Cranfield philosophy of E plus R equals O. The event plus your reaction to the event is the major reason the outcome is the way it is. So when someone goes, look, I'm sorry, Mina, I don't want one. Most people go, oh, okay then, and they leave. And what if you were to turn around and go, well, hold on a moment, before I go, what I have actually really does fit your problem. It will solve what's happening for you. Are you sure you won't consider it? And I introduce what I call the rule of 2 no's. You don't ever walk away from someone who might want what you've got until you tried at least twice to interest them in it. Because everyone has one no, but very few people have ever needed a second no. So the event plus your reaction, in other words, coming back and going, well, hang on, before we part company, can I just ask you to consider this? And that leads to the outcome you get. And so when I hear people going, oh, I just can't get in front of enough people, I wonder how many people they're trying to get in front of. The more people I talk to, the more people are interested in talking to me. And how you do that is up to you. But, those are spending time worrying about what you can't control instead of getting out there and actually doing something about what you can control. Right? So we call it MMA, money-making activity.
I love that. Everybody talks about, hey, we're going to work hard. We're going to find a lot of people, talk to lots of people to land a deal or a sale. If someone wants to work smarter, how can they get their sale game on point?
Okay. Well, look, there was a saying, oh, do you work smart, do you work hard? The reality is you work both. I mean, if you don't want to work today, put a line through your diary and go have a break. But if you are working, work. Especially if you're self-employed or it's a small business. If there's 2 or 3 people in a team, you can't have 1/3 of that team going, oh, I can't go half-mast today. So if you're at work, work. So really when it comes down to it, it's around doing the basics very well. So one of the things you've always got to do is go back to what always did work. I do a lot of work with people who have had a lot of business come in easily. And if business stops coming in easily, they really don't want to go back to having to pick up and follow up, having to, do the old things they used to do, whether it be putting flyers in a letterbox, whether it be doing advertising, whether it's hand delivering something when now they're used to just popping it on an email. Go back and do the basics, and it's the first real thing you can do to make sure that you're going to position yourself and be in the right place at the right time and do enough of them. A very simple rule, and it's not enough, but do a minimum 3 pieces of prospecting a day.
How does that work?
However it works. If I'm really, really busy, if you looked in my car right now, you'd find I had a list of 12 names. And as I stop at a set of lights, I'll dial and I'll be on a hands-free. If I get home tonight and I've done nothing, I'll jump on and send 3 emails. If I have nothing else to do, but I have 20 minutes in my day, and I will have, then I'll jump onto my CRM and I go, let's go and find a list of 4 or 5 people I can contact tomorrow. So there should always be a habit of doing something that you can do. If you love writing, then write. If you're happy in front of a camera, then be happy in front of a camera. If you want to be on a stage, however you want to do it. But you've got to be proactive, and you can't leave your chances to fate. I've got a couple of expressions I live by, and one of them is, man with mouth open waits a long time for a fried duck to fly in. You have to actually go out there and make sure you got to go and get that duck. And so I have a lot of people who do, but I've done all my social media stuff and it's all great. But if the phone's not ringing, then you need to do something about that. If the inquiries aren't coming in, you need to react to that. We had a conference that was about online marketing, and it was in trouble. It wasn't getting enough seats. And what we did in the end was we got everybody to sit down and pick up the phone, and they all rang about 20, 30 people each for 2 days. And we got about 80, 90 people to the conference. The pill that was hardest to swallow was the fact it was done by picking up the phone. So it's whatever way works.
What's going on now with phone calling? There seems to be a bit of an aversion to being on the phone and ringing people, and maybe like going more to texting or going more to email. What will work? What will work? Phone first, email, phone, text. What's going on? Which one?
You've got two parts to that. One, what is your target market responding to? So emails used to be responded to. Now they're ignored. Now every time your phone goes ding, people go and they look at it. So if that's how people respond, then by all means do that. The second thing is, what are you comfortable doing? So as a professional speaker, when I want to promote myself, I try and put myself in front of an audience. And if I stand on stage and I open my mouth, people go, oh, this guy's got something. On a flyer, I look no different to anyone else. On my social media, I kind of say the same things most trainers say. But when I'm on a stage and I open my mouth and I start talking, people go, actually, this is quite interesting. Now, if I recognize that as my strength, then I put myself in a position as often as I can to network, to socialize, to be on a stage, so that I get a chance to voice, and so that people can go, right, I'm hearing some different stuff here. I don't write naturally, but when I write, I try and write different. And so I'm just working to my strengths.
How do you write different?
I just write as me, I guess. I'm a very pragmatic person. When people come and listen to me speak, for example, they'll end up in an hour with a dozen things they literally can walk away and do. And to my absolute delight, because I'm a person of service, I love to help people actually get up and do things. If someone gives me an email the next day going, oh, I tried that, it really worked, that's a bonus and a half.
Nice.
But, I'm a very pragmatic person. If you come and talk to me, I will try and fix your problem. And whether I'm on a conference stage or I'm chatting one-on-one to you, I can't help myself. If you say, oh, I'm having a bit of trouble with this, why don't you try that? It just comes out.
Yeah.
And so my writing, I try and reflect who that is. So my writing tends to be about, here's a problem and here's how you can fix it. And so it is very me. It's very conversational. I'm pretty colloquial, not very formal. But I mean, and this is a real key to if you're going to make phone calls, you have to stop thinking you've got to script it tightly. Right. Good evening, Mina. My name's Bill James. I just wondered if you had a couple of minutes to chat about. I'm right. Now, you just nodded. You just went, no, I haven't. That inbuilt sales shutter is in everyone. The less like that you can sound, the more you will get success.
How? How should we sound?
Much more conversational. So here's two ways, very simple. My favorite approach is actually, hi, Mina. Look, my name's Bill James, and this is an unashamed flag-waving exercise. And I promise you 18 out of 20 people in New Zealand go, oh, good on you. Right? But I'm past the hang-up reflex. And I actually have permission to now speak further because I've gone, oh, good on you. And I use the word unashamed. One of the things we do a lot of is leading language and using a slightly different language to make people like just jar out of their standard thinking. So when I say unashamed, that's not an accident because it makes people distracted by the word unashamed and they actually forget to hang up on me. So when I ring up and say this is an unashamed flag waving exercise, that's a practice piece of language. And so language is an important thing. It's one of the things we do. But that approach, and maybe followed with, look, I appreciate that you're busy. Give me 30 seconds. If I can't impress you in 30 seconds, tell me. Otherwise, let's see how we go. And people go, oh, no, you got 30 seconds. So as an example, another one is a very, very simple one, which is to have an attention grabber and a getter. We did one with a recruitment company and they rang up and they were targeting people who'd been in the paper for 8 weeks. And they just rang and said, look, my name's XYZ. You've got an advertisement that's been in the paper 8 weeks. Maybe you're not having any joy filling it. We think we've got 3 candidates that could fill it. It just made sense to pick up the phone and talk to you. And we call that reasonable relevance. And if you're reasonable and you're relevant, you get the time at the other end of the phone. It's because people go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And even if they don't want to say yes, what you don't get is, oh, I hate you people calling me, I hate you. And that's what people are afraid of. That's what people fear. So when you're reasonable and relevant, even when people say no, they go, look, I appreciate the call, but we've just put 8 ads in the paper because we have to. We know who we're going to hire, but appreciate that. And even then, they've now opened a conversation with someone they never have a conversation before with. And if they know what they're doing, they can turn that conversation into, well, obviously you're well in hand with this, but we do a lot around sales, but sales isn't all that you recruit, is it? Oh, no, we recruit a lot of things. So you've started a conversation and maybe you can find your way in there. So that very, very simple way of doing it is very much about being you. You've got to be real to you. Authenticity is a magnificent thing. Who would have thought the truth was an advantage? But in a world where we swipe left or right or whatever it is, I mean, I've been married 34 years, I don't swipe left and right. When someone is genuinely who they are, that's a rare thing. I'm like this on stage because I say you've got to be real to who you are. So I don't go on stage and go, hello, everybody. I guess there's a little bit more hamming it up, but basically this is it. And I get a lot of comments going, you're like you are on stage. That's right. That's who I am. If you don't love me, walk away because you were never going to do business with me. Yeah. But if you like me, I will be the best me I can be because it's all I can be. So anybody out there that is working in a sales environment or in a sales role has to accentuate how positive they are and how good they are and stop worrying about all the little things they get wrong, because when you're so good at getting the bits right, no one worries about the bits you get wrong. Now, be aware of them, address them, but be unbelievable at what you do. So people go, look, you're so good at that, I don't care. And we train people in that.
I want to take you, this is so good. I would love to take you back though to the emailing bit, emailing, texting, for calling. And you were talking about whether it's depending on your audience and your, maybe even the generation. Let's take the generation, the younger people, right? The 25 to 35. How do they work? What do we do? Do we?
Oh, well, there's a question. So.
Yeah, like how do they work? Do they respond well in emails or phone calls? Are they avert to phone calls? What's going on? And then also, I'd like to go into the different section, like some 55-year-old businessman who's.
Look, let's briefly touch on that then.
Yeah, so a 30-year-old businessman, let's say. Yeah,
30-year-old businessman is fine. The thing that people don't remember to do when they've made contact is say things like, what's your preferred way? It's one of those basic questions you should always ask. So Mina, if we're going to stay in contact, what's your preferred way? Now, you quite like emailing. It's efficient for you. Right? So you've emailed me a gazillion times. And then when we talk on the phone, it's usually when I initiate that. So if I think about that from a sales point of view, I'm actually not communicating with you the way you want. So if we work on what's favorite, when you're in that sort of 25 to 35 bracket, then those are people you can get on a Zoom call pretty easily, and you can suggest those sort of things. When you do suggest things like that, you never go, can we call or not? You go, would you prefer Zoom or is text or phone? And the reason you do that is you take away no. Yes or no is a silly way to work in sales. But when you go text, Zoom or call, people go, I prefer. And there's no reason you can't ask them. So with 25 to 35, I do find emails still work to a large degree because they get to them in their time. In reality, I'm biased because as someone who is, despite the fact I look in my 30s, I'm in my 60s. And so I like instant response. I'll pick up the phone. It's how I've always done it. And it's my first port of call. Fact of the matter is, I don't often get people on that phone. And I'll say, look, I'll leave you a message here, but let me also pop an email to you, just that might be a more convenient way. Or if I'm thinking maybe they're text orientated, and if they respond by text, I've got my first clue, then I'll say, look, let me send you a text as well. That might be more convenient. Now, anything that's a faster response and easier to respond to is probably better. So phone is first if you can get them. Text is probably next, or any sort of messaging, because they tend to pick it up. All right, so such and such said, oh, sorry, who is this? So your texting is probably your second favourite because you get a fast response. Then you move into your emails and the such likes. Another very effective one is to use mediums like video and use a Loom-style product to just send a quick video message to somebody. Videos are opened, and when all the stats out of YouTube, etc. So those things will work.
If somebody doesn't respond, what do? You know, you've had a chat to somebody and you've emailed them information. You've rang them. You've sent them a text. You've emailed again. They say you've got to follow up 5 times or 7 times to land something. How long do you go before you actually stop following up and letting it go, really? It's
an interesting one. You've got to be a little bit careful. It's like saying I want to make my C client into my B and my B into my A. For every B that turns into an A client, the other 99 don't. You're better to go get an A client. I'm shocking for being tenacious. And people say to me, oh, you're very persistent, but you're good at it. So when you're following up, again, the first thing is, so Mina, what would suit you for a follow-up? And you might say, look, give me 2 weeks. Okay, and if I don't connect with you, if I don't hear from you, say in 3 weeks because you get busy, then I might follow you up after that. So straight away, when I talk to people, I try and set that. And if I can set that schedule, they know I'm coming. And in my email or my follow-up, it'll always be, as we just, when we touch base, you suggested 2 weeks and I said I'll call you in 3. I like them to know I'm keeping my promise, but I also want to remind them they said it was okay. And we don't do that. We go, hi, I was just wanting to, and the word just, please kill it. I was just. As soon as you say I'm just doing something, it means this is unimportant.
Why is that? Why just is the bad word?
Well, I'm just throwing a cup of tea at you. I made you a cup of tea, especially out of your cup with the stuff you really like.
So does it lower the value of what you're doing?
Awesome.
Stop saying just.
Absolutely. Put just on your desk and cross it out and stop saying it.
And this is for everybody, not just business people.
Oh, everybody, look.
Well, everybody says, I just want to ask you a question.
Well, everybody's silly. Look, I wondered if it would be worthwhile asking a question about, with languaging, the difference between, and this is positioning, and we can go off here if you like. Positioning is very much about making sure that you are equal with the person you're talking to. So being in awe of somebody instantly makes you subservient. So either you can be superior to the person you're talking to, equal, or inferior. So I can think of some of the folks that I really admire. And if one of them rang me tomorrow and said, Bill, are you free at 10 o'clock? I'd be free at 10 o'clock, right? Because I admire them. The reality is when you're in a sales situation, people don't admire you that much. It's unusual. You might be a TV personality or a rugby star or someone, they go, hey, can I come and see you? Yes. And because they're overawed. And that works, but very few of us are like that. So if you ring up someone and say, hi, Mina, it's really wonderful that you made the time today, and I'm so glad that you could see me, and I hope you get value out of our conversation. I'm showing you that I'm subservient to you. Thank you, thank you. So the equal positioning is where you're really good at what you do and I'm really good at what I do. And if we combine forces, we could do something very good. So Mina, it's fantastic we got to spend some time today. I've been thinking about your company and just wondering if there isn't a synergy about how we could just improve a couple of areas and maybe move things forward, hoping we might go together on that. See, so that languaging is more an even to even person.
It's funny because what we understand is people who are well-known, popular, who, if I want to try and get to someone who's got a big, massive podcast, they say on their podcast, hey, if you want to talk to me, it would be nice if you appreciate my time and understand that I'm busy. And so they expect us to say to them, hey, thank you for making time. I know you're busy. I would love to offer you X, Y, Z. I would love to add value to you, and I'd love to learn from you as a podcaster. So how do you go against this expectation of, oh, thank you so much for your time. Like, I really appreciate it. Like, coming on that equal level that you're talking about, which is really important, but also being respectful and understanding that people are busy?
Well, if you're dealing with someone who's just pandering for an ego, question whether you should deal with them.
Everybody has ego, though. Many people have egos, but they're still good.
I've got it.
But
I'm
they've got good
5'6"
people.
tubby Welsh guy, and I've still got an ego.
So how do I go around you then?
No, but I'm saying if someone is pandering to an ego, there's a difference.
Okay.
So
Right.
if I'm sitting there, hey, look, I'm really, really important. If for you to get to me, you've got to jump through a few hurdles. If you're dealing with someone like that, there's different ways of saying it. So if someone says, my time is precious, and to get it, you need to do this, that's fine. You could turn around and say, look, because I just don't have an awful lot of time, it would be really helpful if you can make sure you outline these things and give me a really good insight. That way I'll know that I can allocate the time to you. So I've just said the same thing, but does it sound like it's an ego trip? So you can tell a lot about how people do that. And also when you're contacting someone and you think there might be some concerns or something there, you do what we call name the elephant. Don't let them say to you, oh, look, I wouldn't normally work with a up-and-coming podcaster because I do have a lot going on. Don't let them hit you with that. You hit them with it before them. Yeah, hi, I'm an up-and-coming podcaster, and you probably hear from 2 or 3 of us every single week. However, I'm also the fastest-growing podcaster, and I want to hitch my wagon to someone who's established and also then help them grow as I grow. I think there is value for us to share, me to learn from you, but me also then to also expand your growth. I will have thousands and thousands of listeners in the next few years, and I'd like you to be part of that. So can you see that I've now changed that positioning? So I'm not going to be subservient to that person. And the reality is they will respect that more than they respect another groveler. Right? So they'll give the time to someone who goes, oh, here's someone that sounds like they know what they're doing. That's the equal to equal. If you can achieve that, then that works much better for you.
And it sounds good. It sounds much better than, oh, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know you're so busy. And even our facial language, if you've noticed, like with my eyes, if I look at the camera and go, oh, thank you so much. Like that, like so you crunch your eyes and so that even, yeah, exactly. So we're making facial expressions for people who are only listening. So it's your facial expressions as well that you've got to be mindful of, your body language, but how you look at your face. Like you just keep your eyes wide open, I suppose, or I don't know. You're the boss. You know what to do. You're the expert.
Well, look, the world is made of practice. When you're getting good at this, practice it. This will sound strange, but I started my career selling door to door, and I literally was selling dining clubs in snowstorms in Dunedin. My first sales role, and I learned a lot about persuasive language then. Like my ears are frozen. If I don't thaw them soon, they're going to fall off. People saying, come in. And then the way we went. I had my own sales team with that company in about 6 weeks.
I think also it's cultural. Some cultures are way more subservient.
No, they're more accommodating. The two are not the same.
Are they? What's the difference between subservient and accommodating?
If you go and see royalty, they will treat you with respect. They don't have to. They're royalty.
Yeah.
So, courtesy is not subservience. Courtesy is just saying, look, this is just common courtesy. My mum, my father, and my generations have done this. And if you're cold, I will warm you. It doesn't mean I value you or anything like that. It's just a service.
Yeah.
But right from then, I learned the value of keeping very stoic. People throw me in the deep end all the time because I seem to be able to handle someone going, oh, it's not good. And I've learned just to keep my face very, very pan. And so you'll notice, I can be full of expression when I want to be full of expression. But when I'm sitting chatting to someone who's I want to be an equal with, I don't get too excited and I don't get too bored. And they're very matter of fact, and I'm fairly matter of fact too. And we'll talk about the stuff we can do and how that can benefit and what's the return on investment on that and what that means to your organization. I've done that in front of a mirror for hours. And people don't. They go, well, I shouldn't practice that. Why not? This is such an important part, and you still can't hide the eyes. But your expressions are so important. You have to understand what it means. If I want to be, say I'm trying to make a point, I look like this. But if I want to be sympathetic, then it looks like that. No, but if I want to be sincere, then it looks a bit more like that. And while you can turn around and go, gosh, that's so untrue, it's not. I'm a very sincere person. I don't let people down. I've helped thousands of companies. But this is just part of your craft. It's like someone who has a camera and they go, well, I hope it works on the day. No airline pilot just gets in and turns it on. They go through the list. They do the stuff. So practice is an incredibly important part of being good at sales, and nowhere near enough people do it.
You talk about maximizing opportunities among existing customers. You've got customers. How can you leverage who you have already on your dial? And the term upgrade, so you've got the customer, they've invested in what you're offering as a service or a product. What are the latest techniques that you can implement to be able to add more value to that customer and take them up to the next level?
Well, don't worry about the latest techniques if you're not doing the old ones.
What are the old ones?
Communicate.
How?
Give value. How's sort of the least of it. If you're saying, do I email, do I text, forget all that. You should know your customers and how they prefer to communicate. You've got to continually add value. Just remember, whoever knocks on the door most recently with the latest product is actually the sexiest option. So to have a long-term relationship, to upskill, to cross-sell, it's about the quality of your questioning and making sure that you're always asking questions and going on. It's about making sure you keep your CRM up to date, which so few people actually do. So you remember what people are doing. You don't have to ask them 3 times. It's about creating business at 2 levels. Many people will work just here because I understand the technical side of what I do. I understand how that works. But when you want a relationship, it's actually here. So this educates me that you're good. This makes me want to do something with you. And this is where, if you like, sales comes from, because this is where trust comes from. So for long-term relationships with clients, you've got to get to that personal level. So here we are, we've got October coming up, we've got Labor Day coming up, we have Easter coming up, we have Christmas coming up. Where are you going for your holidays? How's your little boy? You know, all these things are very, very important. But with my key clients, I have a deep understanding of who they are, what they stand for, what makes them happy, what makes them not happy. I feed them business, they feed me business. I formalize those relationships and I have what I call centers of influence. I meet with people once a month and we talk about who they're working with, who I'm working with, and who we can swap. I have clients that think I'm great and I say, well, are you okay to have a referral with that? Yep. I've got clients I meet 3 or 4 times a year and I meet with them so they can give me referrals. And that's the depth of that relationship. When you have deeper communication with your clients, and please use agendas, there's some really lovely basic agendas you can use.
What do you mean by agendas?
Well, set it up. People have faith in process.
Faith in process.
Yeah.
That's good. Good to know.
Well, you think about this. Before we had this interview, did you go around and check all your equipment? Is that a process you do?
Yes.
Does it give you confidence the interview is going to go well?
Yes.
Well, you've got faith in that process.
Yeah.
So people do. So I turn up and we're about to have a meeting. And this is a lovely little process one that you can do. It's called what, why, how, you get. So this is what we're going to do and this is why we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it. And what you'll get at the end is this. Now, if you're having, for example, internal meetings, and this is whether you're a family trying to talk to a teenage kid or, you know, inside, so say, look, so what we're going to do is talk about the value of a podcast and what might be in that podcast. And the reason for that is that, Bill, I know I'd like you on my podcast, and I need to show you what you get from that and what could be achieved. And I'd like to do it by showing you some of the podcasts that we've done in the past and some of the spikes we've got on the social media. So at the end of it, you can be really confident and happy that what we're doing will in fact work for you. What, why, how, you get.
Yep.
So formats and processes like that added into your sales process are extremely powerful and extremely important. Now, going back to the original question, how do you keep getting ongoing, upgoing sales? It's about the ongoing, upgoing relationship. It's about making sure you have that as part of your conversation. So Mina, great to sit down, always good to catch up, but I would like to know what you're going to do for 2025, 2026, and this half, that half. Can we pop that on the table as well? No problems at all. And make sure you open it up. People are quite happy. They know why you're there.
I want to ask you about the whole 2025, 2026. How does that work? Are you saying, let's do business in 2025 and 2026? Like, can I book you in advance to have you as in partnership? Are you talking about, or are you talking about us adding your service, or how? Like, what does that mean?
Look, I'm talking about serving them in any way, shape or form I can.
Yeah.
Probably 2/3 of the time that I help my clients, it's not to do anything to do with me. They might be looking for a professional in something and I go, I know one. Instead of going and going, what do you need in sales? I'll always walk in and go, give me your 3 kind of biggest challenges right now. And challenge 1 might be stock. Challenge 2 might be funding. Challenge 3 might be, whatever. And I go, interesting. I can't help you with stock and whatever, but funding is really about getting more money through the door. What are you doing to make sure you're maximizing your sales at the moment? But if I can help with funding, because I know people that fund, then I also say, well, look, I do know someone in merchant banking, commercial banking. I don't know if they'll help you, but would it be worthwhile having a chat? Now, they don't need to use that person, but I've earned a brownie point. I've added to the emotional bank account that I have with that person by putting someone in front of them that might be valuable to them. And that's all part of building the relationship. That's part of being trusted. It's part of going deeper. From my point of view, as a conference keynote speaker, as being part of what I do, people plan conferences 2 years in advance. Anybody in a business might be looking at a piece of machinery 2 years in advance. Anybody who's got plans, any CEO has a 1, 3, 5 year plan. Why wouldn't we talk about being with them in 3 years' time? Why wouldn't you talk about, instead of going, look, I've got a package for a podcast, what I have is a package to do a podcast every third. And what we do over a 2 year cycle is we target different areas, and why not make the most of everybody that's doing that? If 1 in 4 of them go, actually, that was good, the first one worked well, yeah, I'll look at a multiple podcast per annum deal with you. How many less clients do you now have to find? And how many of those people who are now loyal to you will go, actually, I've got friends that need podcasts. So I will show people, we call it leverage marketing. It's actually how you push marketing out from no money, just making the most of everything that you've got. So I've actually got a client I think will use you. So that's how you leverage me and my relationship. So all that sort of thing is how you can very smartly make business. But that's about us staying in touch. If you find me the more valuable person, you're the one that has to give that relationship energy.
Oh, okay.
If you don't give it energy, it dies.
How? Can you get into that?
You stay in touch. You do little things that make me go, oh, that's cool. You remind me that you're there.
Like what?
Oh, look, it might be that you find, say, for example, I say I'm a fan of Simon Sinek. You might find a little thing that Simon Sinek's done and pop me a link. I had one client who was the national sales manager of a lease company. He loved Liverpool in the 70s and 80s, Kenny Dalglish, Kevin Keegan, that sort of stuff. He was a big fan of the All Whites, being a Scottish man. He loved the Scottish team. His daughters were playing football. You don't say soccer in front of them. But all I had to do to get in front of him was send him a little clip on YouTube from the 70s Liverpool, and he'd come back and go, oh, time for a get-together, Billy. And he was very Scottish. And every time I sat down with him, his clients had hundreds of cars. They do conferences. And over a period of about 7 or 8 years, he probably introduced me to 20 conferences. And we had a relationship where the French knocked the Scottish out of the World Cup, so I was the first one to email him and go, oh, it's flipping French, nobody likes them. He go, aye. And when the French got knocked out of the World Cup, I sent him an email going, yay, someone got those dirty French. And he went, yay. So those are all little...
It's so simple.
It's very simple, but you've got to remember it's at that personal level.
Yeah.
He astroturfed his back lawn once because it was so wet. But at the end of summer, he had all this astroturf and he didn't know what to do. And I said, look, I'll shove it on YouTube for you. And so I did, and I sold his astroturf for him. Now, crazy, what's that got to do with sales? It's got everything to do with sales. It's got everything to do with relationship.
Yeah.
But he never wanted to talk to me in the weekend. He lived around the corner from me, but I was Monday to Friday. And if I saw him at a school fair or I saw him in the street, it was just a quick wave. Hi, how are you? Yeah, good. I was work time.
Yeah.
And so respecting that and understanding that is all part of building a relationship that goes much deeper when you want to stay with clients. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. I absolutely love that because it's so simple. You talk about what people love and what people appreciate. And I was thinking about, do I have to send them a hamper to grab their attention? Or do I have to send them a book to say thanks? The other question I had just about how do you maximize the number of people being recommended to you? Let's say I work with you and I know that you know a lot of people how do I leverage? Like, I think we might have talked about this again, but if you can get into it deeper, that'd be great. How do I leverage our relationship so that I can get across who you know and across who I know as well? And because I'm sure a lot of business owners find it difficult to, because isn't it easier? Okay, this isn't easier to have cold calling or leveraging who you know already and getting them to refer people to you and recommend them to you.
You've asked me several questions there, so let's knock a couple of.
I asked you 7 questions already.
Yep.
How about we cancel it and answer what you can answer?
No. Look, first and foremost, when it comes to choosing your marketing, you have to have a look at how effective it is. So, for example, and you need to know numbers. If I get 10 referrals and that leads to 8 appointments and that leads to 5 sales, for example, and I know what my average sale is, so I've got $100,000 worth of sales to do, and each sale is 10 grand. Then I need, I need 10 referrals that convert to a sale. That means I need 20 core referrals because 80% of those will become an appointment and half of those will become a sale. I now sit there and go, are you telling me if I get 20 referrals in a year, I make $100,000? Then all I do is I concentrate on getting referrals. I don't worry about the rest. Go back to those really simple numbers and say, right, I need to talk to 1 center of influence a week. I need to find 5 referrals a month, and I need to find 6 new clients in some way, shape, or form. That's it. And that's all you focus on. Makes life easy. But part of that equation is how hard is it for you? So I've had teams that sit there and go, we make 60 calls a day and we make 3 appointments a day, and they're really proud of themselves. I call that hard work. I think that's headbanging. I would much rather go have a cup of coffee with someone I like and they like me and go get 2 or 3 names. So the personal cost to you is one of those factors. I give people, I work with accountants and they go, oh, you don't want to make phone calls. I go, all right, well, let's do something different then. But if you don't do those things, you've got to make phone calls. So from the referral side of things, look, I do about a half-day workshop on that, and I do it all the time publicly. It's a few $100. It's really worth looking at. But it's a bigger thing than you think. The biggest mistakes people make, first one is they kind of do it as an offhand thing. So you get people who recommend people to you. So I've said, I think I have a client that might work with you. But you've never asked me for a client. For every one I give you voluntarily, you miss 5 or 6 if you don't have a process. So the first thing with referrals is stop treating it lightly. Stop, oh, if you know anybody that can use me, get rid of that. You've got to make it into a process. There is a proper referral process. We have mapped our referral process over 20 years, and we know we average 105 referrals for every 100 people you talk to. So if you want to double your business and you've got 40 clients, we can make it 80 clients and probably get 20, 25 of those easily just from your existing clients. So firstly, it is a process, respect it. And the American research says if you don't have one, you do miss 5 or 6 appointments or potentials for everyone that comes your way. From there, you've got to sow seeds. People don't do that. When we start doing business together, I want to make you so happy that you'll automatically recommend me to other people as long as I can make you happy. So that's my challenge. Are you okay with that? So straight away I'm doing it. Have it on your business card. 80% of my business comes by way of word of mouth. Please don't be surprised if you'd like to recommend me. Put it on the bottom of your sign-offs. Make sure you add it to your agendas. So look, we've got our second appointment coming up, Mina. Can I add 5 minutes at the end of that just to chat about other people that might also value my service? Would you be okay with that? Okay, there it is. It's now on the agenda. So you've got to set these things up. And so just the creation of the opportunity to get referrals is something people don't do well. From there, there is a nice 3-step process that you go through that gets people to buy into that and how you actually open up their mind. And just isn't going to happen in time we've got today. But then you've also got to work with how do you then approach that referral? Because most people, 4 out of 5, lose them. They just ring up and pitch. And if you ring up and do it the right way, you'll get in front of 3 or 4 out of 5 of those people. So that's a whole referral process. But the first bit, which was, well, how do I set it up? It's a process. Make sure you mention it all often and add it into your process. Don't do it as a haphazard thing that you throw in at the end. So when you think about introverts and extroverts, and we do a lot of sales for introverts, our main thing is for people that don't like selling. And my byline is for people that don't like selling but have to anyway. Has been for 15 years. There are so many people out there that are technically stunning at what they do, but promoting what they do is scary. The introverted side of us is what makes the better salesperson. The extroverted side is where people say, hey, I'm Bill, how are you? And they shoot from the hip. And the more seasoned sales professionals are usually the worst because they think they know it. The introverts are the ones that will have a process and follow that process and improve that process. And over time, they actually become high-performing people.
Can you be an extrovert but still act as an introvert in sales?
Well, funnily enough, even though I work with introverted or non-sales people, because extroverts and high performers actually need process, what they've forgotten is to do the basics. So by creating those basics for that introverted style person, those extroverted people actually also win from that as well. Plus they win from the leading language we do and also from the leverage marketing that we do. So both of them do win. But the introverted people are kind of where I have a little bit of a passion because they're the ones that struggle the most. And I kind of like helping the underdog a little bit. But when all said and done, remember that you've got an introvert and you've got an extrovert, and people go, must I be one of those two? Very few people are actually in there. In the middle, there is the ambivert.
Yeah.
And the ambivert is the person that's kind of the introvert, but they have that ability. So I'm an introverted person, but I speak at Toastmasters and I actually occasionally sing karaoke. I'm an extroverted person, but I actually quite find it fascinating to do the books. I really like getting into the CRM. So there is a scale. And funnily enough, if you look at the earnings, there's research done with a company, a telecommunications company that was selling software. And the extroverts were selling about $128 as an average sale. The introverts were selling about $124 as an average sale. But the ambiverts in the middle were selling over $150 as an average sale. And they're the ones that can pull a little bit from both sides.
How?
You've just got to move a little bit more. So let's say, for example, give me someone that you respect, just off the top of your head. Give
Simon
me
Sinek.
Okay, so Simon Sinek. You want to be more like Simon Sinek? Look at what Simon Sinek does and start to pick one of those things he does and start to move towards it. You'll be more like Simon Sinek. That's how you do everything. When Nelson Mandela had to make speeches, and he didn't want to make speeches, he was just a lawyer. He really didn't want to be up in front of everybody, but they were running out of people to put up there. He wrote a list and he said, who are the 10 speech makers I just love? And on went your Martin Luther King and those sort of people. What do they do and what can I copy? And that's how he became such a stunning speech maker and deliverer. It was because he had a look. So when you have a look at it and go, well, look, as an introverted person, what could I do best? Well, let's have a look. Do you ask really good questions, really listen, and very few people actually ask good questions and listen, and understand what a client wants? Yeah, I do. Okay. Can you work with that client to put a good solution together? Well, yes, I can. And can you explain it to the clients so they don't feel stupid with using loads of jargon? Because that's something definitely a lot of introverts need to change. They go, it's an X15. And clients go, what? So you go, it's a really good one. And so can I explain it without making the client feel a bit stupid? Can I then action that, and will I stick around to make sure it happens? Those are the traits of an introvert. What do you think clients are looking for? They're looking for those traits. And here's the thing, introverts can be themselves. You can be really successful in selling without having to leave your comfort zone very far. I mean, you've got to leave it a little bit because the best stuff in the world is outside your comfort zone, but you can actually be really very much an introvert and be exactly what people want. Find the right target market and present that way. And people don't want to be sold. They don't want loud. They don't want hyper. So introverts do extremely well, pretty much as they are.
If someone is an extrovert listening, going, how, like, do I need to dial it down? I need to dial it down with my pitching, trying to sell an idea or sell something that I wanted to do. Do I need to speak not loud? Do I need to not be as energetic? Like, do they have to change to be good salespeople?
Well, again, being real to who you are is an absolute must because you can't be anyone else. I think it was Judy Garland said, if you're an apple, be a first-rate apple because you're only a third-rate plum. So, if you are a slightly louder personality, if you are a bit more gregarious, find clients that like that, be that, but understand the impact you have. If you do have to tune it down a little bit, by all means do. But really...
But you've got to do what's working. You can't just keep being an extrovert, loud and, pompous. That's not really getting you the deals that you need because you're just... I don't know if it's just too loud. There are a few different characteristics for extros and a few different characteristics of introverts. So how can they change to be able to... Is it listening more? Or
there's skills they can pick up, but really effectively you are who you are. I would always counsel people they should be the best of what they can be. So introverts do need to move a little bit along the spectrum to become better. Extroverts almost certainly have to move a little bit back down the spectrum to be better. No different for either. But if you've got a large personality, the best salespeople, certainly in the men, are normally over 6 feet. They're a little bit louder. They've got a lovely presence and they walk in and people notice them. So they have that power. That gives them the power to come along and make suggestions and have people go, oh, okay. Now, I'm not saying they should kind of bully people into doing things, but that strength, the driver type personality is actually the best salesperson for a lot of reasons. But you wouldn't want them to become meek and mild because there are certain circumstances, there are different audiences. If I'm selling software to, say, a warehouse manager, they don't want loud. But if I've got a CEO of a multinational company that expects to pay billions of dollars, I want someone who's going to stand up and take me on and give me good advice. Then I walk through the door and I go, so you ready for the next billion? I am. Sit down. Tell me about it.
How do you know if they're going to be how do you know if this is the CEO who wants the loud version and the marketing manager who wants the quiet version before you met them and know them? And you can't really ask, oh, what's your style of communication? You can't really do that. How do you know in advance what the style is for the person you're going to be meeting before even meeting them?
All right. Well, let's knock a few things off. Social media. What's their LinkedIn look like? Is it bullet point, bullet point, bullet point? Is it full? What are their interests? Is there a Facebook page? Do they have someone at work you can connect with and sort of go, hi, you're the executive assistant to somebody or other. Look, I need to send them something. How do they like their information? Do they like it bullet point down to their background? Go find that. Have a look on LinkedIn. Find someone on there that you have in common. Give them a contact and just go, are you just linked or do you know these people? Tell me a bit about them. So there's lots of homework you can do. Even at front reception, you can turn around and say, look, I've got to send something to somebody. I'd really love a bit of insight into the sort of person they are. There's lots and lots of things in there. You can be fooled, though. I mean, I went to a company that had a website and they were all in suits. And then I looked at their videos. They're all in suits. So I turned up in a suit and they're all in jeans. So that was a look they had for, their public appearance. Thing is, though, I go along expecting to meet people in suits and I meet people in polo tops and jeans. It's actually a disjoint. But to your question, there's lots of ways you can do that. Now, one way you can do it is to send a pre-work, to make sure our time together is efficient. I often ask 3 quick questions. And you ask 3 quick questions and you have a look at what comes back. And again, you've also got to have that ability to flex. So I walk in and I meet this larger than life character. Hi, come in, sit down. How are you? Yeah, no problems. You got a drink? You got a coffee? Oh, there we go. I go, right, I'm getting an idea about how I need to interact.
Okay.
But more than anything else, don't suddenly go, hey, I'd love a glass of water because it's not you. Learn how to give value to that style of person by being you. So I've sat in front of a CEO. I can't get these guys. When I was in sales, I could sell like that. Why can't they sell like me? Well, the fact of the matter is they can't. They are a different group. The way you sell is not the way they sell. What I specialize in doing is speaking their language. I'm more like them than I am like you. But I can take what you want. I can take what you're trying to achieve, and I can translate it into a way where they will also buy into it. They'll always be themselves, but I'll bring you back the results you're looking for. I'll be your translator. Hey, that sounds great. That's what I want. So rather than try and change who I am, what I'm trying to do is accommodate them and show them that I am what they need to make this happen without changing who I am. I can't start a long-term relationship with someone not being me, because in the long term, they're going to work out exactly who I am. So that's a really important aspect.
Any final thoughts for people who are listening, pearls of wisdom that you want to share?
Look, when it comes to things like sales, remember that it's actually very, very simple. You're either looking for someone or you're looking for someone to talk to. I mean, it's really simple. We complicate stuff, and there's been studies done of this with like Lego bridges where people want to add 85% of people, they build a bridge and it doesn't balance. 85% of people want to add more Lego. Only 15% of people go, well, why don't we just take the ones off that we don't need? Very few people understand that this is really a very simple game and you should simplify it down. Being yourself is unbelievably important. All right, don't freak out about this. Everyone knows why you're there. I ring you up and I go, look, I need to do a podcast or something. Can you come and have a talk to me? So I know what you do for a living when you come to my office. And I know that I have a problem. And you should know that too. And I want my problem solved. So stop being so scared of going, oh, I mustn't push. Oh, I mustn't do this. I mustn't do that. Excuse me, I'm a busy person. You've had my time. What have you got? So when you do go and see people, recognize you're there to solve a problem for them. Don't be so afraid of saying, now, would you like me to fix that for you? What are we here to do today? And the first question out of everyone's mouth is, so why are we here? What are we actually trying to fix? And that gives you what they want to talk about. But at the end of it, it's okay. Look, I have some ideas I'd like to share with you. Shall we fix this? So please stop being scared of doing that. Oh, but I don't want to change. I don't want to spoil the relationship. You only have the relationship because you want to sell them something. Those people are not going to have a wine or a beer with you on a Friday night. They just want a podcast. So don't be scared of changing. That relationship doesn't exist until you do a podcast. So I know why you're here. Get on and do it. And that's probably the best thing. Get out there and take some action.
Oh, Bill, you've been wonderful and fantastic. And I have no doubt that you're going to go from strength to strength in your new adventure. If people want to get hold of you, find out how they can get your services and speak to you and get them on their team and train them and get more sales, how can they do that?
Look, I know we're meant to fire websites up, and BillJamesSpeaker.co is a website, but don't be shy about sending me an email, bill@bjames.co.nz. I love helping people. I'm very, very easy to communicate with. I'm very, very easy to get in contact with. So if there's something you want to know, something you want to do, we've got all the bits and pieces, just by all means reach out.
No doubt. I highly recommend it as well. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.